What's going on, everybody? Rajay back in the house. Thanks for swinging by to check out another Beer Talk Live this evening. And I'm going to be joined here shortly by the Gnarly Gnome. He's actually having a little bit of technical issue getting onto the computer. So going to give him a couple minutes. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday night to start the week out here. And we're going to get him in, and then we'll talk about some of the beer things that he's seeing. We'll have some great conversation around beer and some of the stuff that he's doing, and some great things that are taking place here in Cincinnati and outside of Cincinnati as well. Shout out to Skip in the house. What is going on, Skip? Good to see you, my friend. Cheers to you and happy Monday. And hopefully you're kicking back and relaxing with something nice there as well. Speaking of which, I'm going to crack open a little Oberon action. So I'm going to get this baby into a glass, and this will be the first beer that I will be enjoying this evening. Nothing says spring like Oberon, so always a nice favorite as the weather starts to break. Speaking of weather, funny thing, today we're like 65, but tomorrow we're supposed to get a wintry mix. Don't get how all that is supposed to work out, but that's kind of crazy that we're actually looking at possible snow and some slushy type stuff on the roads in the morning. That's weird. That's just Mother Nature. Can't beat her and can't figure her out. So just kind of stuck with her there, I guess. Thank you, brothers. It's always a good night when streaming. Cheers, and cheers to you. So I'm actually watching my Twitter thing. Gnarly had to actually reboot his computer. Of course, things like this never happen unless you're set to do a live stream. Then you run into all kinds of technical issues. But a nice look here at the Oberon, as you can see. Got it in one of the BeerVentures glasses also. Nice looking beer. There's the other side of the glass too to get your beer on. So these are actually some of the glassware that you can find there on the store as well. Always tastes like pure goodness. Cheers, Todd. What is going on, my friend? Good to see you as well, buddy. Happy Monday to you. Hopefully things are going well. Are you guys supposed to get some of the snow and stuff down there where you're at as well? Or this wintry mix that's coming in? It is crazy. It says, Cha said, cheers, Skip. Hey, what's going on, TBW? Cheers. Happy Monday to you as well. And welcome here to the channel. Great to have you on board. Skip said, can I purchase that glass? Actually, yes. So the glassware you can actually find out there on the store, which is in the description. It's a store there on Zazzle. So it's zazzle.com/Rajay BeerVentures. But yes, you do have that available out there as well. Let me take a look here. And the link is there in the description as well. So anybody wants to check out the glassware or so many other things that are out there too. There are some various things that you can actually find out there. Cheers. Is that Thursday night, Todd? It is Thursday night, Todd. Yeah, they're saying we will, but I just think a light dusting, but who the hell knows? Yeah, they're saying it's too warm here pretty much, but it might be like some slushiness on the ground, like an inch of slushiness. I mean, obviously, I don't have to go anywhere because I'm at the house working. So it's just kind of weird going from 66, 67 today to going to be down under 40 tomorrow. So, yes, sir, Skip. And what's going on, Tremaine? Cheers. What is happening, my friend? Just waiting the arrival of Gnarly Gnome, who had to reboot his system. And then we'll get started with the show once he also gets in as well. Tremaine in the house. What's up? Todd says. So Tremaine. I had to read I had to read your thing there. I think the spell check got you, or the auto correct, or whatever it is. Oh yeah. Let's see here. And you know what? Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so he's got to switch mics right now. He's having all kinds of technical stuff happening over there, so we'll give him a little bit more time there. I was reading my Twitter as well. But Skip, that is the link also to the store there as well. So before we get situated, topics, anybody else drinking anything out there right now that you want to share in the chat, let me know as well what you guys are actually drinking on. Also kind of curious where, everybody's from that I'm not aware of. What kind of breweries and stuff you're seeing up in your areas. Because when we talk tonight, we'll talk some about, like I said, the Cincinnati Metro. That's where Gnarly Gnome does a lot of this stuff and around the region. But then we'll go outside to other areas because he does cover things across the country on stuff. So hopefully we can talk about some beers out in your neck of the woods as well. As Al Roker would say, your neck of the woods. You're welcome, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, there's like different stuff on there. I got to update some stuff on there. I got some other ideas on things I want to put out there, but there's like some shirts and bottle openers and stickers and hoodies, all kinds of things. High quality H2O at the moment. Okay. The Water Boy. Todd. Some high quality H2O. Bow Valley Lager from Big Rock Brewery in Calgary, Alberta. Nice. How's your weather? Oh, well, Skip, where are you at? Are you in Canada, by the way, or are you here in the States? I don't know if I ever found out. But I wonder if you are in Canada, if you're getting some cold weather your way. This is a weird day. So on TV right now in the background, I actually have Pawn Stars on, and they got like a mini Oscar Wiener dog. I've seen Oscar Mayer dog. I've seen like 3 or 4 different things in the last couple hours on Twitter with the Oscar Mayer dog and different things. Like, why do I keep seeing Oscar Mayer dog pop up everywhere? Come on, Todd, right? Yeah, he's just getting started. Barrel aged H2O. Is that like some of the Blake magic water there? Speaking of the devil, what's going on, Blake? Cheers, buddy. What is happening, my friend? Good to see you. Let's see. So, Blake, yeah. So, Toronto, okay. Weather has been good, but it's supposed to get snow this week. Hey, you're getting snow up there too as well. Interesting. I know the Northeast was getting I don't know if they ended up getting as much as they said they were supposed to get last week. We'll have to check with Vanessa if she comes on, but they were supposed to get maybe 10 inches in some spots. But yeah, I figure you were, obviously you're a little colder where you're at Toronto, but I didn't know if you had any stuff coming your way. Just ready for the be spring and stay spring. Enough with the snow already. Enough. And also, Skip, with you being up in Canada, that site, actually, they do ship everywhere, I believe. So if you do see something there you like. Blake said, Todd, my brother, what up? We need to get Todd in there for some of the basketball stuff. Ah, there he is.
I am a grumpy guy right now. Lord, you should have seen me running around grabbing different microphones and trying to plug stuff in. Oh my God.
I thought you were just going for a Lauryn Hill show here. I was he'll be here at some point.
It's my fault for not being down here an hour ago, getting everything, making sure it was all working.
Well, you're getting dinner stuff in, so yeah. Anything good for dinner you had tonight?
We threw some salmon on the smoker, so.
Oh, there you go.
Sucking a little bit of enjoyment in the sunshine.
Before the snowstorm hits us.
Yeah.
It's crazy ass shit that we're seeing.
you already crack open a beer? Is that an Oberon, I see?
Well, I mean, I had to wait. I had to do something, right? So
I don't have Oberon, but I'm going to crack open some Pathfinder from Cartridge.
Oh, let me see. Put that up there so people can see that.
My lighting is terrible for cans. I need to get this figured out.
Cartridge
Brewing. They're over in Mainville.
Yeah, I've heard of them too. I haven't been been a lot of places with the whole COVID thing that we'll get into as well. So
it's a whole different ball game trying to get out and have a beer somewhere anymore.
Yeah, it is. But welcome, Andrew. Andrew is the Gnarly Gnome, so it's definitely great to have you here on the channel and everything. And this cat's going back, like, I don't even know when. We'll get into it. Like, I started my thing like 6 years ago, and I was just like a baby compared to how long he's been doing stuff out here, I'm sure. So
it's not that far off. I think I started the blog probably 7-ish years ago, somewhere around there. So it's right about that same time frame.
Okay.
Podcast, I think it was exactly 6 years ago. March, St. Patrick's Day was when we kicked off our first episode. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually just a week after I started with the YouTube channel then. So pretty close there. And
wish we had thought to do YouTube at the time.
It was a little thing. People were like, "Oh, it's not going to work. It's going to fail." People get tired of it.
We had no idea what we were doing with anything. The guy started the show with Mike Cisneros, great guy. Passed away from a stroke a few years ago, and it was his idea for the show. We started talking, and he said, "I got this idea for this thing." It's like, "Have you heard of podcasts?" I'm like, "Kind of." It's like, "We should make one." I'm like, "All right, how do we do that?"
Yeah. That's how you all start out. Like, okay, what do we do now? You just start going after it, right?
Exactly.
People end up digging themselves out of things because they think about it too much rather than just getting it rolling. And it's just like, well, let's just go at it and see what happens.
Yeah. Half the fun is fixing things as you go along, right?
Yeah, right.
Tonight being the perfect example. Stuff just doesn't work.
We just found out we couldn't do that.
All right.
Okay. But no, it's definitely great to have you on, and big fan of stuff you do. But I was going to say, I was waiting for you to come on. You mentioned Mike, but before we got started in this stuff, definitely want to give shout out condolences to Chris Brunas, right? We just lost last week, unfortunately, to him and his family, and he's up there running the bar right now. So
there's, when I started all of this in the same time, kind of when you started all this, there were a lot of bloggers in town. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of people talking about beer. Some of them really great people, some of them not really great people. There were a lot of egos going on and things like that.
Right.
Chris Nascimento was one of those guys that was in the middle of everything, trying to promote Cincinnati beer and trying to do it in a positive way all the time. And people like that are sometimes few and far between when you get in the middle of everything. So it's a huge loss for this entire beer scene. Yeah, especially Cincinnati. He was fiercely a local drinker.
yeah.
Which I always appreciate. It's hard to do sometimes. There's so much great beer around there. I know you venture out way more than I do into what you tend to crack open, but there is such a huge variety of beer out there. It's really easy to drift away, and I liked that he didn't do that.
Yeah, it is, and I tell people as we get into talking about some of the Cincinnati stuff, we have a ton of stuff here.
Oh yeah.
And I try to cover things from not just here in the country, but from around the world, different breweries and stuff like that I can get beers and sample and try and talk about. But I could do a whole career here just talking about stuff because we have so many things happening, especially with all the updates that we have to take. I was like, swear to God, like Braxton, if you send me one more mail this week about a new beer coming out,
new beer, a new tap room, who knows?
Yeah. We're gonna have words, my friends.
It was when we started the podcast, so it was 2000. What was that? 2015, something like that. there were not that many I mean, there was a good amount of breweries. We thought there were a ton of breweries, but as we started rolling into the show, we started talking. We had kind of a pretty good list of topics that we would talk about, as we were progressing, and we worked through that really quickly. And there was one night where we all got to Mike's house to record, and he's like, "All right, what are we going to talk about tonight?" And I said, "Man, I don't know. I got a cooler full of beer, and we'll crack it open, and we'll just see where it goes."
Yeah.
And the concern was that we would just run out of things to talk about. We would run out of breweries to interview. We run out of people to sit down with, and I think about that now. If I went to one brewery a week, here in Cincinnati, I couldn't hit everybody in a year. So I, assuming I could get everywhere, like I'm still like a full year's worth of shows just talking to everybody once a year. So we have plenty of things to talk about now.
I mean, we have from, you can say like the Nano, right? Like Mass Cult say something out of party town, up to like, your Ryan Geis and your Mad Tree, Braxton, some of the bigger type ones and everything in between. So it's just like, I still haven't been to Big Ash yet. That's another one that people are talking a lot of buzz about. We just had basically Wiedemann make a return over the last few years. So we've had a lot of different stuff happening, which has been great. A lot of the guys here, it's funny because some of the talks will talk about Little Kings, and I'll say, well, Little Kings is actually under the Moorline line, which is out of here in Cincinnati. Like, people didn't realize that. So, they brought back the Little Kings stuff. So,
well, there's, not just beer, but like, the just taproom experience too. Whatever you're looking for, there's a spot for it. Like if you want to go play volleyball in the sun with, your friends West, and go canoeing and stuff, you got 50 West, you go there. If you want to sit in a big, massive taproom and, see this top 25 brewery in the country, you've got Ryan Geis. Everything that you can possibly think of experience-wise exists here in I think everything exists here. As soon as I think that, somebody else pops up like, "Oh my God, I didn't think about it." Like we've got this just really great wide variety of taproom experiences, which wasn't something I even thought about, 10 years ago. I know taproom experience. Like, what the hell's a taproom experience? They're all the same. It's a couple picnic tables and some stainless steel and a flight tray, and that's a taproom experience. And that's not even close to the case anymore.
But you're just talking about the breweries, and for me, I try to express it. I've shared stuff or video about it. Tell the people about Jungle Gyms.
Oh dear God! Well, it was a lot more fun when you could get a beer and walk around while you were shopping with the beer.
Tell people
that's still shut down right now, which is very sad. But Jungle Gyms, just speaking of the beer selection there, like we get spoiled, or I get spoiled. I live in Fairfield. I'm around the corner from Jungle Gyms. That's my local grocery store. That's my bottle shop. That's the place that I go to. Shout out to all the other guys around town that have great bottle shops, but that's the place I shop the most. And anything you want is there. It's like you can walk down the import aisle and get some really great Belgian lambics that's hanging out on the shelf, and then every craft brewery that you can possibly think of that we can get, they've got sitting there, and it's and then you talk about the actual grocery store,
right? Exactly.
Which was a little bit of the danger when you could walk around with a beer, because you get a couple beers in you and you just might buy something really strange that you weren't anticipating.
Come on, some sea urchin. Like, I don't even know how to cook this thing, but it looked cool when I was there.
Did you buy a goat head again? Yes, I'm sorry, honey. Just thought maybe we could get stew.
Even like we were talking one night on the show about the hot sauce section they have. Like, in Eastgate. Like in Eastgate, that's when I usually go to. I go to Fairfield once in a while, but Eastgate's like I think a bigger. It is than with the Fairfield.
It is slightly bigger. So one thing I will say, us Fairfield shoppers, I think we have kind of a little bit of a gripe with Eastgate because it's an imitation version of Fairfield Jungle Gyms. Right? However, the cigar selection is amazing there, and the liquor store is way better at Eastgate than it is in Fairfield. Yeah. However, it just doesn't have the same soul. But if I lived in Eastgate, I would say something very different.
Well, it's definitely hard to beat the original, right? But but for me, Eastgate's a little closer. And sometimes I like travel up towards Fairfield. It's funny, like my wife would get like her hair done in one of their salons up there, and she's like, "I went to Fairfield. You want to drop me off, and you can run around and do what you want to do?" And it's like, no, because I'll be at Jungle Gyms and I'll be spending like more money. And literally, I'll drop her off and I'll be in Jungle Gym. She'll text me like, "Oh, almost done." I'm like, "Almost done? And I look down, it's like 2.5 hours. I'm not even ready to check out yet.
Yes, my wife still hasn't figured out why my grocery shopping has gotten so much more efficient since we can't have a beer at Jungle Jim's anymore.
Yeah.
It's because I actually just shop.
You can just take it to go in a growler or one of the mini
Right.
growlers. But yeah, but when it's there, it's like they're so nice. They give you like a cup holder in your cart, so it makes it nice and convenient. So yeah, we joke around Jungle Jim's. Todd, who's one of my friends, he's in the chat here. He's in Louisville, so he's been to Jungle Jim's up here. So just like talking about the amazing stuff that we actually find there, and shared the video with some of the people, and some of the people were just like, man, I would just not leave. I had one friend over in the UK. He's like, I would have to spend the night if I was there. I just feel like, you guys go ahead and close down and I'll be here. So get a job for night security or something. But no, it is an amazing spot. But in talking about like some of the things that you're seeing, around, first, I guess the easiest thing to get into, like, how did you get started? Even like, I know we talked a little bit about how you and Mike got everything put together. Was it just you were sitting around drinking and decided, hey, why don't we do something? Like,
it was all accident, really. Like I never thought, hey, I'm going to start a beer blog today and I'm going to be the Gnarly Gnome and all this stuff. So going back pretty far. So when I was in college, got my first apartment, and for some god unknown reason, my mom bought me a lawn gnome. I didn't have a lawn, like I'm in an apartment, but she bought me this gnome. His name's Larry, and I still have him. He's hanging out in our garden in front of our house, but he's just this gnome, and he hung out in my living room. He propped open the door. That was his job. But whenever people would come over, they would see this gnome right by the door. He was right there when he walked in, and eventually somebody said, oh, I didn't know you like gnomes. And I'm like, yeah, he's pretty cool. It's Larry. And well, the next time they came over, they brought a gnome with them. Hey, I got you this gnome for your collection. So I don't really have a collection. Well, now I have 2 gnomes, and as soon as you have 2, it takes off, and every time people would come over, they just kept bringing gnomes, and before you know it, I've got more and more and more gnomes. So they amass in my apartment. I meet my wonderful wife. We get a place together. She puts them all on top of the shelves in our kitchen, like on the top of the cabinets in the kitchen, and we still have a gnome collection, so they just keep amassing. we buy a house together, and we get married, buy a house, and now all of a sudden she's like, the gnomes have to go. we're putting the gnomes in the basement. So that's fine. There was an unfinished basement at the time. Well, time goes on, I'm finishing the basement, I'm building a bar and all that stuff. I'm sitting at the bar one night, this half-finished bar, drinking, and I'm like, I got to name the bar. Every bar needs a name, it needs a personality, and I'm looking around, and there's these gnomes everywhere staring at me. I'm like, all right, this is the Gnarly Gnome Tavern. So, named the bar. Fast forward a couple years, I'm sitting around, I'm a kind of a nerd for taking notes. It's this weird thing that I do. I just, I take notes about everything, beers and just all kinds of stuff. And I take notes about beers a lot, what I've tried. And then I started, keeping notes on breweries, when they were releasing stuff, and just started amassing this really cool archive of notes. And I started to notice that none of the bloggers were giving people that information. Like, you couldn't go and just see, like, if I wanted to know when, Mount Carmel first, released their, whatever on tap. I can't think of something good from that time.
Not right now.
Sure. When that first hit the taps, which was probably when they opened the tap room, but that didn't exist. I couldn't find that information quickly, but I had it in my notes. So I started throwing it on a website just for pure, my enjoyment. And then trying to think of what to call the website, and I'm sitting in the Gnarly Gnome Tavern, and I'm like, all right, well, it's the Gnarly Gnome, and nobody's going to read this stuff. It's just kind of for me. And, very quickly, people started reading it. I don't know how it really got out there. I don't know how it started growing, but people started reading it, and then it just became an obsession at that point, and I just had to have everything on there because that's kind of my personality, of that note taker side of me. It all needs to be there, which is a terrible mistake. So that's how the blog got started. Just like it's a pure accident, just backing my way into it. Which is kind of the same thing with the podcast. Like I said, I ran into Mike sitting at Mount Carmel. We were sitting at the bar, and I had a Old Firehouse hat on. He's like, Old Firehouse, that's down over in Williamsburg, right? And I said, yeah. And I said, have you been there? And he's like, no. He's like, we just always kind of drink here. So where do you live? And he's like, just right across the street. Like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's not that far from here. Like there's, I drive halfway across this city every, week trying to get to new places. You just go check them out. And he's like, well, how do you know so much about, local beer? And so I do this thing, this blog. It's kind of become an obsession. And he's like, oh, that's really cool. He's like, can I send you an email tomorrow? And I said, yep. And he sent me an email, and it was this outline for Cincy Brewcast. It was sports radio meets beer. It was, kind of a panel of beer drinkers and people in the industry, and you get bartenders, and like just somebody that kind of represented each part of the industry. One of those people was, in his outline was a blogger or something like that, and that's kind of the role I slid into, and it took off from there. Quickly we figured out the fun of doing Periscope Live and things like that, and it just kept growing, and here we are.
Yeah, because you guys were doing it on site in a lot of places and stuff too. I remember and everything. So
and again, we just kind of backed into it. Like we were doing that. We started everything in studio, and we would go places and record an interview, and then bring it back. And then while we were in studio, just kind of play it and work it into kind of a live to tape show. Episode 4. I was good friends with the guys up at Dogberry in Westchester, and was talking to them one night over a couple beers, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we just came here and did the podcast from the tap room? And we had just started playing with Periscope, or I had been fooling around with it, and I said, we could probably put it on Periscope and do that too. So then we started doing this, on location thing. We're like, oh, this was fun. We should do it like, once a month or once every couple months. And that just kept growing and growing and growing. And, where we're at now is every single week is in a tap room somewhere. The ambiance, sitting in a tap room is part of the fun of what, the whole craft beer thing is about. So trying to capture that in the episodes has become just part of the sound of Cincy Brewcast at this point.
Nice. Well, and now with the COVID thing, that's kind of affected that there. Of course,
a little bit,
so,
I was ahead. I mean, we're a year into it now, so it's I was ahead a couple weeks at the beginning. Managed to do a couple remote things, via Zoom and stuff like that, and do some interviews that way. But pretty early on, figured out that I could still sit down with people somehow, either bringing people here into my house, which thank God again, my wife is patient and understanding, and we had already had so many relationships with people. There's people we trust, people we may not trust with their COVID safetiness. So figuring out who you trust to bring into your house and who you don't. Staying distance when you go places, and when we're in the middle of all of this was important, but. We figured it out, and we tried to keep the feeling the same through everything, which I think we did. Yeah. So I hadn't been myself out to really any of the breweries because of everything that happened. So I'm looking forward to getting back out. Actually, set to take the second vaccine here on Friday, and then be freed up there. But before it all happened, like Darkness Brewing was, I know the owners on Darkness, and that was going to be somewhere I was going to be broadcasting from. I actually talked with the owners down there, and we did a great interview with the owner and the head brewer down there. And so anytime you want to come in, we'll set it up. It was like, and then it's like, well, we'll see. And that's part of my secret to a lot of the interviews I was doing, especially in the middle of all of this. Tap rooms were either closed, so you can go sit down with somebody and not have other people around. You can put yourself, 15 feet away from somebody and just run a long mic cable, keep that distance. There were lots of little kind of things like that you still get the sound of being face to face with somebody, and that kind of feeling of being face to face without being right on top of each other. Yeah. Little things like that I would do, but. I'd actually have to go back and look at some of those episodes to see how many were remote, how many I did kind of solo stuff in studio. I don't even remember at this point. It's a year. It's crazy to think it's been that long.
I know, right? Now it's just like, it's March of last year really is when it kind of hit. In fact, we had the Cincy Beer Fest really the weekend before all hell broke loose. If that had been the next weekend, the Beer Fest would have been canceled.
Yeah. and Bachfest happened right before it. And...
Yeah. So talk about timing, right? It was like, man, and that was a good time when we went to that, and at that time we were getting word of it because my wife was even asking, like, you want to go? Still want to go to the beer festival? I was like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Blah blah blah. So, we're good to go, and then we went and had a blast, of course, but then it was just like everything started shutting down right afterwards.
Yeah. So, well, that was so the weekend things shut down. That Sunday, we had a one of the tours scheduled down at Moorline through all the tunnels and stuff. We do it a few times a year. We had this tour scheduled, and we knew things were kind of getting a little sketchy. We knew that things might start getting shut down soon, but we went down there. We got to our tour and nobody else showed up for our tour, so it was just our group of like 3 or 4 people that were like from my family, just hanging out. And then afterwards, it ends back at Moorline, so we go, let's just grab a beer in the tap room. And empty tap room, nobody. They're like, no, we haven't had anybody all week. and I look at it now and I'm like, my God, like, thank God, like, we got that experience. Not only, is this thing right before this shutdown of COVID, and right before, we were, not in tap rooms for how many months. And then on top of that, the Moorline tap room has closed since then. So to have that kind of last experience there too, like, I'm glad we squeezed that in right at the end like that.
Yeah, the Moorline tap room closing was a surprise for me there, but
I can't say it was a huge surprise for me, but
well, we knew there would be some effect. There will be some kind of the fallout and stuff. And Moorline has always been kind of an interesting brewery for me because I have some of their beers I enjoy, but then some is just like, I don't know why you even pulled this out, out of the line. So they're kind of one of the ones that kind of are up and down in my book. But
they've had some identity issues, I think, over the years, trying to figure out who they are, especially in a modern world of craft beer. Are they that? Are they this traditional kind of German lager brewing? Who are they? And I think they had trouble, really pinning that down and owning it, I guess.
Yeah. It seemed like you definitely got that feeling when you were dealing with Moorline there. One of my buddies, Chad's in the house. He's keeping it real tonight. He's drinking a Colt 45 and an Earthquake. So
well,
must have been a hell of a Monday for Chad today.
I mean, I'm an equal opportunity drinker. If that's what you got to do, you do it. Earthquake is that like super high ABV lager or something? Is that what I'm
like
thinking?
Earthquake. There's Earthquake and there's Hurricane, kind of the same type ballpark. We usually see Hurricane more around where we're at, I believe. But and my buddy Raining, he's got drinking a Goose Island Tropical Beer Hug 9.9 double IPA. So
everybody's cracking into the big beers.
I can't think I've had it. I haven't had a Goose Island outside of their, Bourbon County in a while now. And I think about it, so they're kind of one of the ones that are on the shelves for me. I just don't usually pull anything off of as much, just because there's so many other stuff out there. Nothing ever jumps off. And like, hey, give me a try. Like when you go to pick out beers and like you go to Jungle Gyms or whatever, like what do you look for? Like when you're going down there, because you don't know what you're going to get when you walk in that aisle, right? So
I'm a bad example.
Is it labels that catch your eye?
Sometimes, For me, honestly, most of the time, I'm hitting the singles first. I'm grabbing cans of things that I haven't tried yet, things that were new. Then I'm shooting straight past everything and going straight to the local aisle, and I'm scanning. Like, all right, I don't have any of that in my fridge. This is new. I need to grab. It's new stuff basically. It's things that I need to try. I need to take notes about. I get it. Usually the times where I'm actually grabbing something that I want to drink are when we are, on the weekend, we're going to hang out at the in-laws' house, or we're going camping, or we're hanging out by the pool all day, or something like that, like an event, I guess. That's when I'll fill the cooler just with what I want to fill the cooler with. When I'm just keeping the fridge stocked, it is almost 100% just what haven't I had that I need to have. So I'm not a normal example, I don't think of. Although maybe I am. When you walk into a tap room and you watch people ordering beer, a lot of times they are just trying the things they haven't tried yet. So like the idea of new and like this fresh, I want the next thing, maybe is not as abnormal as I think it is.
Yeah. Well, I think when you go in to buy, I think everybody kind of themselves. I imagine people have a system on how they want to look at it. Like when I go in to a jungle, like you said, you go right to the single search. Usually the singles are the last one I kind of go to in mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually go into jungle gyms, and let's face it, I check out the deals because we know jungle gyms have some crazy deals over there. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Okay, I'll get some of this.
I think you can get a 6-pack of pickle beer for $1.99
right now. And then I usually hit like the imports, all that kind of stuff. I kind of, like you're saying, search the things and see what kind of grabs my attention. But then I do hit like the singles and stuff to catch up anything in between. And of course, you got some of them like the bomber type things or like some of these 16.9 ounce bottles. So it all becomes like a system after a point. And it becomes so second nature in how you're kind of working through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also with jungle gyms, like the beer glassware was great deals you get there too. So I'm a big fan. Behind me on this shoulder, tons of glassware. Like I'm a big fan of glassware. And it's like, this is what? Yeah, I'll take that.
when I was a very young drinker, so again, going back to my first apartment, I had this little tiny bar in my living room. This it was real tiny. It was, maybe 5 feet long. Just kind of a cabinet on one wall, and we started kind of jumping around, going traveling and stuff, visiting other friends in college, and I knew I wanted to collect something from the places that we were going to, and shot glasses was kind of always the thing growing up. That you saw people with their shot glass collections. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. That's everybody's got that. I want to do something different. I'm like, we're going to all these craft breweries. I'm going to get pint glasses. Every time I go to a craft brewery, I'm going to get a pint glass there. Mm-hmm. So I started that, and I had these shelves above my cool little bar with all these pint glasses with little lights on them. It was really awesome. And I just kept collecting and kept collecting and kept collecting. And then Jungle Gym started on pint nights, and I started getting pints and glasses and glasses and glasses. And at a certain point, I said, all right, I'm a local beer drinker. Local beer is my thing. And no more I'm not getting a Goose Island pint glass. Then I'm if it's a local beer, I will get whatever glassware they have. And that just gets out of control too. So I have, I have hundreds, if not above 1,000 glasses in this house right now. I have like big Rubbermaid containers in the storage room just full of glassware that eventually I need to find a way to get rid of.
That's where for the gnomes.
Yeah. And any given night, like if I'm just pouring a beer in a glass, like it's almost always this glass. One glass. That's the one I use. Sometimes if I need to take a picture of things for Instagram or something, I'll throw it in a different glass. But if I'm drinking a beer, it's out of this one.
Yeah, it's like, oh, where's my favorite glass? That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. The things we do.
Yeah. Well, like I used to keep them because of I like to look at them, the different breweries I like, the design, all kind of stuff. And then I went to like Kroger or some of the sets you could buy, like a set of 4. I would get regular glass I would drink out of, and I'm like, I need to start drinking out of these glasses I got here as well. So I started kind of mixing them in. But for a while, they were just like on the shelf or whatever, just for design or whatever.
Yeah.
But it can become a big habit real quick. But the shot, I have like a little shot glass. Like I kind of stopped doing the shot glasses, but I do have the shot glasses as well.
At a certain point, you've only got so much space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do have like in my bar in the other room. I'm looking at it. You can't see it, but the top shelves are all glasses. So like I have glassware from a bunch of local breweries that are out on display. I just don't ever drink out of them. They just kind of sit there, and I have to dust them, and it's like. Can't keep it going.
Can't keep up on everything along those lines. Cheers to you, Mark and Danny, as well there in the chat. So we talk about, well, let me do this. I want to pull up the website so people can see the website as well. So here is the website, which is gnarlygnome.com, which it's a great website. I like the layout that you got it. You got a great breakdown. You definitely have a lot of information, as you were noting before. So,
well, and
that's a good thing. No, that's a great thing.
What's so crazy about it too is like there's a lot of stuff that's on the website that's hidden away that doesn't have like easy access to, because I'm building other parts of it. Like when I started writing about like booze, I have a whole section for distilleries and things like that. You couldn't get to it for a really long time, but every single week I was writing stuff on there so that when I did kind of turn it on, it was just all there. Like that's one of those things that I'm just so obsessive about. Just I hate when you go to find something and you're like, oh, all this other stuff is here, but not the one thing I'm looking for. Which I'm not perfect. I'm it's impossible to get everything, as I've learned over the years.
Well, I think we all find something that's kind of we do stuff and it's like, oh, why didn't I put that there before type situation. It's kind of like we're our toughest critics, so
trying to figure out the most user-friendly ways to do stuff. Like the brewery list is something that people have always loved on the site, and it's trying to figure out the best way to list all of the local breweries and have it user-friendly is really, really difficult. So I'm always working on trying to figure that out. I think I've kind of cracked that code a little bit here. Once I get it all fired up, that should be a new version should be rolling out here in the next I'm not going to give a time frame. The next near future. Kids make time frames impossible.
Well, the good thing on here, and for the people watching, in the description, I actually have the links here for Andrew, but you can see like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube that you're on. Plus, you have the podcasts and stuff too. But you just like have so many different things happening. You look into the beer. That's where you have the brewery list, which is also I tried the brewery list for a while on my site, and it got to be too crazy at a point.
It's hard.
Like, and that's why it's like looking at your stuff. Like you got the blog, the podcast, all this stuff that you're doing, but I don't know where you find the time to put all this stuff in here.
Yeah, I don't either. So
I'm amazed. Well, and I'm in awe.
it's really frustrating sometimes. Like Woodburn Brewery, a local brewery, is getting ready for their grand opening. You can't find that anywhere on my website right now because I haven't had time to write about it. I haven't had time to put that on it. Like stuff like that drives me crazy. Like it should be there. I had a calendar on the website for a long time, and it got to the point where I couldn't keep up with it in the fashion that it needed to be kept up with. So I pulled it off. I said I can't, if I can't do it right, I can't do it.
So are they doing a re-grand opening with new management? Because they had some issues there, as you know.
New ownership, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I didn't realize they had a new ownership takeover. Okay.
March 1st / Fig Leaf, that whole group, I guess, the whatever you want to call them, the
beer triangle.
Yeah, they are the new owners, and they're opening towards the end of this month.
Yeah. So, yeah, that has some ups and downs on that stories on different things that were provided.
An understatement.
Yeah. Well, me and you know more of the details than the people watching, so it's kind of like, how far can I really go with the people watching? They have no idea what's happening there, but
I try to stay positive with most of the stuff that I write about, or try to at least find something positive within it to write about. That is one of the times where I wasn't so positive when I wrote about something, which you can find it on the website. It's not coming off, even with the new owners. It's part of their story.
I mean, from what we found or been told to happen there, or people that we knew that were there, it wasn't, usually like on my channel, I get involved in different things, and I've talked about founders. I've talked about Boulevard, talking now about Brewdog and some of their stuff. In fact, one of the articles was posted on Twitter that someone had put out there, and I appreciate it because I was like looking for more details and kind of the whole time scale of what happened through them. But here locally, probably, as far as in the brewing community, they were one of the more notorious with everything happened with Woodburn. So
they were, there's been a couple other little things here and there that will happen, but.
And they were nothing like founders or anything like that. By the way.
No.
There was nothing along those lines.
It was just a
more employee.
A bad owner is what it was. Yeah. One of the original owners was not a great guy, and treated some people very poorly, and then handled himself very badly in the brewery. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, put it out. Yeah. Well, you change the locks on people. I mean. Speaking of breweries, so speaking of one of the bigger breweries, and I say bigger because they were really an up and comer. I'm curious to see if you watched anything taking place with them. And it's not really here, although we do have one of their tap rooms here, and that'd be Platform. So what they went through, in fact, one of the guys that sent me when they had the employees walk out in Columbus, basically they took a video and it was just all beer down in the basement and stuff. Like there were no employees anywhere, just like a ghost town. what your thoughts were. And it's kind of funny because on LinkedIn, I also saw earlier today that they were posting for new positions, but it was all under AB and Bev as kind of the owner over platform. So
I'm not a big fan of AB InBev or other very large beer companies kind of coming in and pretending that they're craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that you can walk into OTR, downtown Cincinnati, and be walking down the street and see a platform tap room and think you're going to a craft brewery when there has not been a drop of beer brewed in that building ever. So that's number one. I hate the faux craft brewery thing that's happening, and BrewDog is notorious for it. They open tap rooms everywhere and pretend that they're craft breweries, and
they love our area. So we got Columbus, we got Cincinnati, we got Indianapolis. Yeah,
we drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, true. He doesn't lie, people. He doesn't lie.
even on a little a little different kind of spin with it, with North High coming into to Hyde Park with a tap room. They're not brewing there, and so it's not a brewery.
It's just an outlet for them, yeah.
But which is fine if you want to open a bar that serves your craft beer at a tap room, it's okay. But there is definitely there are a lot of people that think it's a brewery, and that bothers me a lot. But going back to platform AB InBev and all of their employee issues, it's not surprising. It's when you look at companies that size, sometimes they don't treat people right, and that's not the craft beer way, or it shouldn't be the craft beer way.
No,
and we live in a time now where people aren't going to put up with that forever. They're gonna get loud about it. We've got outlets for people to express when they're being treated poorly.
Well, the funny thing was before they went under the AB and Bev umbrella, platform was one of the hotter things out there, and so to me it was more like I feel like the owner was in it, he got the big check, and they didn't really maybe care as much anymore, and it kind of was like, we're good.
I think he was pretty open from the beginning that that was kind of definitely in his head. I know, like when Wicked Weed got bought by AB InBev, it was definitely something that he talked about early on too. You don't just accidentally get bought by AB InBev. It's hard to turn down the numbers if they're coming to you. But you still have to sign on a dotted line. We'll speak in broad terms, but in the state of Ohio, Platform was not the first brewery that AB InBev reached out to. If you are a large brewery in the state, they at least tried to set up a meeting with you about that same kind of time.
Oh yeah,
they were looking for a spot. And
I remember Rheingeist was getting. Oh yeah, we were trying to Rheingeist said we were not going under AB and Bev. They pretty much had to do a piece in the newspaper and everything about it.
Yeah, they wrote a very grumpy worded article about it and let it be known that was not in their business plan, and that if they ever did anything, they would love to look at an employee ownership program, which kicks into high gear this summer, from what I understand. So
good for them.
So they're not full of shit. Can I say shit on your show?
Sure. Well, yeah. Shit.
But there are other breweries, within the state that either met with AB InBev about that time or refused meetings with AB InBev about that time. So, it's not crazy, but you still have to agree to sell to AB InBev. They don't come in and just take your business. So.
Yeah, and like you said, drinking out beer. I mean, we put up big numbers. In Ohio, big numbers alone. And I have posted the piece that the Ohio Brewer Association has sent to me, but it was out there. We went to 5th in production now in the country. So
5th. I mean, if you think about that, like the amount of people that live in our state versus some of the other states.
Oh, we bumped Texas.
The fact that we are making the 5th most amount of beer. I mean, again, it's not surprising to me, but I probably drink more than the average person. So.
Me and you, yeah. And smart asset, 2 years in a row had Cincinnati as a top city for beer drinkers. And, I explained to people it's not just it's beer drinkers because of the volume of beer, the cost of the beer, the production of the beer, all that stuff just came together. And it's just like, you can't beat Cincinnati for some of the stuff. Even if you're a macro drinker, you're going to be happy. If you're a craft drinker, you're going to be happy. It's just a perfect place for people that enjoy beer.
I will say that as far as cost of the beer goes, there has definitely been a shift in the last year or two. $5 pints used to be a normal thing. And they still are a normal thing if you travel to other parts of even, just the state. If you go to some other places, a $5 pint is not crazy. Whereas, you walk into tap rooms now, it is a thing of the past.
Yeah. Depending on where, if you go into the tap room, depending on where you're at, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be different. Depending on the restaurant, the bar scene.
Yeah.
That can be totally different because I've got a place like here in Kentucky where I get 25-ounce craft drafts for like $4.90 or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you? I don't try to say it out loud because I don't want them changing their price. But I'm like, why are you giving me this in a 25-ounce glass? And yes, I'll have one. Thank you very much.
That should not be in this glass.
Right. Usually I would critique this, but I'm gonna let it slide this time. Go ahead and give me that Rheingeist truth.
Right.
But when you go to some of the breweries, that's why it's like, you talk about some of the breweries. I was amazed one time when I went to Listerman. And I got a flight there. Usually when I go to a brewery, especially if it's new, I just look at the thing and I say, well, how many beers do they have on their menu? How many are in your flights? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, it's 4, 5, 6, or maybe. Okay, let's go 1 through 6. And I'll come back 7 through 12. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and then after I find how they kind of sample in there, I'll get something like a bigger pint or something along those lines. But when I went to Listerman, I got a flight and they're like, oh, it's like, $4. I'm like, what? Like, and they're like, oh, yeah. And then I was talking to the guys like, that's really lower compared to a lot of the places. Like, yeah, we want people to come back. So we don't try to gouge them here compared to some of the other breweries that you go to, which I thought was a really cool thing. And you see why they win over a lot of people. Plus, they make some damn good beer at Listerman too. So
they make really great beer, but they also were one of the first to jump in and start putting out some ciders, which is not a huge part of their production by any stretch, but they have always kind of kept ciders on and off taps, try to do it fairly regularly. Wine, they make their own wine, and people don't realize that, and they keep that out there for you. Like they were one of the first places that kind of figured out that maybe people don't just want beer. Like there might be people coming in here that want something a little bit different.
Well, you know what they have? They have a perfect every year beer drinking crowd because you're right on the college campus.
Right.
So you're able to test a lot of different things too, having that campus right there.
Even that though was always strange about Listerman. I mean, they opened their tap room in 2009 around that time. Or no, they opened the brewery in 2009, sorry. Tap room would have been 2013 or 14 when the law was signed into effect. But you could go in there and buy bombers of beer in 2009, 2010. It wasn't college kids that were coming in there and doing that. Like you could walk over and start talking to people on campus, and they had no idea what Listerman was. It was this weird kind of hidden secret right next to the college campus for a long time. So then when they really started to figure out that they've got this untapped market right there, it was fun watching them kind of figure out how to create a space that people could go and hang out in. If anybody got to go to the old Listerman tap room before it was what it is today, it was something special. A wobbly wooden bar that if you leaned on it, the whole thing would scoot across the floor. It was pretty cool.
Well, Listerman, funny because when a few years back, I would have been like, oh, yeah, they're a home brew store with a tap room or brewery. Now it's like, oh, they're a brewery with a home brewing store. So it kind of just flipped over because of their success and everything.
I mean, when before their big remodel kind of started, when you walked in, you were in the tap room, but you could see right over up the stairs. You could see the big homebrew store. It's all kind of tucked away in the back now. It's just all about that tap room and the revenue that can generate for a place. Homebrew supplies cannot make you a lot of money, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's probably any real estate you're devoting to that, a table would make more sense. That's
definitely worth putting some seats in it, put some people in those seats there for sure. But Yeah, so looking at like the website here, like you did a real good job to send the Cincy brewery list just to kind of scroll through here and people can kind of just see some of the different ones that we have through here. And it's just like I said, there's no shortage of the different breweries. Braxton takes up 4 spots now because they're like, hey, Kentucky's not big enough. Let's put one in downtown Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So
I don't imagine that they're done either as far as
I don't think so. Yeah. And just, and these are the ones that are out there now, right? And who knows what else is being prepared at this time that we're still waiting to get established and get running and things along those lines.
I mean, there's a handful of places that are still kind of in the works right now. I mean, Listerman for we were talking about them. They have a second location they've been working on for a long time. Nine Giant, I haven't updated this. They have a second tap room kind of around the corner. I still have to figure out how I'm going to work that onto the website because it's not really a brewery. But so some of those places are definitely coming to the list. But
yeah,
and then lots of other new places that are working.
There's still some I haven't even been, like this one for Mount Orb is another one out there.
That's a haul to get out there from depending on where you live. I believe towards the end of the month I have a podcast with them. I think it's my first time sitting down there for a podcast. I've definitely been out there, but I don't think I've got them on the show yet.
Yeah. And these are like I said, so these are the ones that are out there now. Wiedemann, I just did a review on there that I posted of their By George Double IPA.
I love Wiedemann. Wiedemann is I've always liked Wiedemann, and when they were planning their tap room, which was originally supposed to be in Northern Kentucky, it was cool and it was exciting. But when they finally got it open in St. Bernard there, I was blown away by what they did with that place and how they made it feel like it's a neighborhood bar that has been there forever. I really like what they've done with that.
Yeah, Esoteric I need to get over to as well. I mean, I need to get to a lot of these places, but I'm meaning to get over to see them because actually, when they were setting up their brewery, I was in some of their early meetings where they were talking to the investors and sharing their beer and kind of giving us a rundown on stuff. So those guys are definitely having some good success for everything I'm hearing. But you also put like notes out here from different breweries and beers you've actually tried from there. And
this is interesting. So my beer notes. At one time, I was caught up on everything. I have notes for that's Darkness is a great example. I don't have any actual notes for any of their beers up on the website. I've got all of those written up. I just have to get them on the website. I have actually let me look it up. I can tell you the exact number of things that I have not ready to post that I need to post.
It's like, I don't know what you're doing with your time. Why isn't it up there?
I keep a pretty crazy to-do list of things. The beer notes are always kind of the thing that falls to the bottom of the list of priorities sometimes. Yeah. Oh, let's see if I can find it here.
You got the beer releases and stuff too, which is pretty cool.
So currently I have 491 beer notes written up, photos taken, all ready to go. I just have to get them on the website. So 491 beers that are not on there.
Just a little job. Just a little job. Yeah.
Yeah, release schedule. Bottle releases, when that started becoming a thing, and can releases started getting harder and harder to keep track of who was releasing what and when they were releasing it. So I started keeping a list that is just constantly updated throughout the month. I have a handful of stuff from today and yesterday that needs added onto it, but so every month it's there.
Now, do they usually send you this stuff?
No, they don't. You have to hunt it down most of the time. Some places are good about it, and they'll shoot me an email and just say, hey, just so you know, we're releasing this day, or something like that. But or their email list or whatever, you can get stuff from there. But no, usually it's you are just scouring social media and websites and keeping an eye on Untapped and things like that, trying to make sure that you are paying attention.
Yeah, I have a few breweries they actually do that, but I have to dig sometimes to find out and stuff. But it is nice when they actually do send you just stuff ahead of time. It's like Just let me know what you got going on.
It's also, to me, that's the value of something like this. When you get that list, and I can say, yes, sometimes it's really hard to find all of this information. I've got it right here for you. Like I will put the time and the effort into scouring social media because I'm a nerd like that. I enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah. So I'll do it so you don't have to.
Well, I like that you also kind of, as we know, a lot of these breweries are also dipping into the distillery type situations, and you're able to add that on here as well. With some of the things that's taken place. Carrigan actually went out there, and I think I want to say it was Matt who invited me out a few weeks ago, and he actually provided the Amarillo IPA for me to check out. And then one of the I didn't know how it was going to go over with me, but it was their key lime.
The Sparkling Spirit.
Sparkling Spirit. I'm not a huge seltzer person, but when I had it, I was like, this is just like a light margarita, and I like margaritas. So I was grilling one day, and I was drinking. It was going down easy. It was warm, and it was just like, this fits the mood right now. So, but if I always make jokes about some of the different seltzers on the channel, but I'm like, okay, this one, they kind of won me over on this one a little bit. So I don't do a lot of them. Like we've had a few, like say Braxton, that we went to events, and like Braxton will be out there, and Braxton surprised me having some pretty decent tasted ones, but a lot of them is just not really my thing. But I'm seeing where they're changing up the game a little bit, and you are able to enjoy some of them.
It's seltzers are definitely not my thing. I would never say that. I drink a lot of them, so I understand that some people may think that I am a closet seltzer drinker, but I'm not. However, I want to be able to tell everybody what is the best seltzer. I want to be able to, if somebody asks me, "Oh, have you tried this one?" I want to be able to say yes and give them my honest opinion. So I've had a lot of seltzers. I understand why people drink them. I understand where their role is in all of this, but just can never beat a beer for me. When I'm getting home at the end of the day and you crack open that first beer and you sit down and put your feet up, and man, it just you can't get that with a seltzer.
No. I mean, I'm still like I said, it's still beer first, but it's like I tell people like with beers, you got to expand your horizons. So you got to do that. The same thing with some of the seltzers. I don't want to say no. I'm going to try stuff, and if I don't like it, I don't like it. Like my wife one time got the claws, and it was just like, oh, this is nasty. I'm not a big fan of the White Claws, but people do like them. People like that seltzery type feel. My wife, she'll drink stuff like tonics and stuff like that and everything, so I can see why it appeals to her to enjoy that. But for me, it was just like, why am I even got this in my hand unless I want to add some whiskey or something to it?
That's what's so odd to me is that like I really enjoy cocktails. Like I will drink, I don't drink, booze as much as I drink beer because beer is just, more accessible and easier. But I enjoy booze almost just as much as I enjoy beer. So cocktails are a big part of my drinking life. We are equal opportunity drinkers in my house. And, if it's a nice sunny day, like I'm not above like sitting there and drinking a gin and tonic or something like that. That makes sense to me. But then as soon as you put that in a can and turn it into some kind of seltzer product, all of a sudden it doesn't make sense anymore. Like I don't need that. Right. And I can't figure out like for me, I can't figure out like why I would pick up a seltzer over either a beer or just throwing myself a cocktail together quickly. Like I don't know. It just never quite figured it out.
I mean, like I said, like a lot of times I know people that do add spirits to it. So
yeah, I mean, so you were talking about that key lime from Carrigan. A couple ounces of rum dumped into that.
Take it up another notch, right? So but it was more refreshing than what I usually would think of as a seltzer, which is in their labeling, kind of calling it that sparkling spirit. Yeah. Makes you kind of think, oh, maybe it's not a seltzer, even though it actually like maybe it's not a seltzer. Yeah. So good play on their part by doing that, but. It's what you're feeling. Like, even with beers, is what you're feeling at that time, right? Sometimes you'll have a beer and you'll think it might be off. Well, it might be a different feel for you. It might be the time of year. It might be, different things that come into play. Yeah. And then you have it again and you're like, oh, man, I do love this beer. I don't know why I didn't like it the other night or something. So,
right.
Let me see here. My buddy Rating said to Mark, no reason to drink stuff like that anymore. Of course, Mark was the one drinking the Earthquake in the Cold 45. He did the Goose Island Tropical Beer Hug 9.9 19.2 ounce can for $2.39, which is not a bad deal for that.
Now, but I don't necessarily agree with that. So there is a time and a place for everything. Like, yes, if you can get a 9.9% beer for $2.39, that is a good reason to choose that over Earthquake or Colt 45 or whatever you're drinking. If that's the reason you're drinking it. However, again, this is a horrible example, but maybe you're sitting around with your friends and you're laughing, you're playing some cards. Somebody opens up their cooler and they brought a bunch of Earthquake, and everybody sits around drinking Earthquake and laughing and having a good time and just pounding this stuff.
Yeah,
like, it becomes part of the experience, and it's not just about what's in your glass and how much you paid for it and how much alcohol is in it and how it was produced, or like there is so much more that is part of the drinking experience. And as craft beer drinkers, we cannot lose sight of that. We cannot get so caught up in what hops they used and how they grew this, or how much this cost, or how much alcohol they were able to cram into this, or organic boysenberries, or whatever. Like don't lose sight that this is just beer. Like, we're drinking beer, and it's about this experience of drinking together.
Yeah, it's the social atmosphere and everything.
Sometimes you need to drink an Earthquake to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a show where my buddy Todd, who was in the chat, we had his wife do a Mad Dog 2020, and she was like, I can't believe I ever liked this back then. Well, I know, when you were 18, it seemed like it was all right at that time. We all were there. There's a reason we had her tested, though, and not us.
I think sometimes it's healthy to take a little visit back just for the heck of it.
Yeah, but actually, Mark, he's the one drinking the Tank 7 tonight, which is a great saison.
That is a great saison.
Well. Yeah, and it was Chad that was having that Colt 45 and Earthquake earlier. Let me see here. And then we got also Drian's one in. Cheers. What is going on? Let me see. So, what was I looking at? Oh, I think you had like the bar section on the website. Which
there's
cool.
A lot coming there.
Yeah. Well, we're ever evolving with OTR and everything, and the banks and different things there as well. So I can only imagine how much more busy you are when you're trying to put the bar scene in.
Well, I mean, if you think about this long term, if you are out drinking with your friends, like, oh, let's go to a bar, and you can go to a place and pull up an actual account of what that bar is like from somebody that you trust. See pictures of it, see what kind of drinks there. If you walk into a place and you think you're going to get a beer and a shot, and you walk in and it's one of those fancy pants, cocktail bars, like, you may not want that. So to understand like what you're getting when you walk into a bar is important to me. So we're very far way away from being able to have what this is going to look like eventually, but
slowly
building it out.
The Rusty Bucket's always a nice place.
I love Rusty Bucket.
They got some good beers. In fact, one of my friends, he's actually a pastor, but he, I forgot religion, but he can actually drink in his religion. So he actually meets clients and stuff at the Rusty Bucket. Not while he's drinking, he just has a lunch there, but he likes the Rusty Bucket as well. And after his meetings, he'll grab a pint or something there. But it's a nice little spot. You don't have my alma mater bar on here, though.
What's that?
Which is, I got to think about it. It's actually over there in Hyde Park, not far from the Rusty Bucket. They do West Virginia I went to school at, and so it's the West Virginia Alumni Bar. Now I can't think of the name myself.
Is the place right there by Rusty Bucket?
No, it's like if you were coming up past making that right to turn into Kenwood where Rusty Bucket would sit. Okay. And you go across like the tracks. It's on the corner, like on that right side. I can't think of the name now. I almost want to say O'Brien, but it's not O'Brien's because that's over in O'Brienville. Oh man, let me see if I can remember here. Not so bad. I haven't been there in a long time. I just remember being there, and a lot of the WVU alumni get together to watch the West Virginia games there.
Much like I have a list of 500 beers that need entered into the website, I have a list of, places. So the places that I have written up and photos taken and everything is not that big. There's probably only a handful of things that need added onto there. Places that I need to go and take pictures and really write a review. Not that I haven't been there. I just need to focus kind of while I'm there, is probably in the hundreds of places around town.
Oakley
you can
Pub
see
and
it.
Grill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I mean, cut you off there. Just I found
No.
it there. Yeah. But Oakley Pub and Grill, nice little spot as well. I haven't been there in a while, but
I've definitely got some of my favorites on your Japs and
yeah. I
Ghost
haven't been
Baby.
to Japs in a while either. Yeah.
Have you been to Ghost Baby?
I've not been there.
So that was a place that when it was opening up, I kind of laughed about it. So that just sounds really hipster and stupid. It's in an old loggering tunnel underground, and that's a really cheesy kind of potential. I was out drinking with a couple friends one night. We were recording some stuff and decided to hit a couple bars before the end of the night just to kind of see what was out there, some of the places we hadn't been to or that I hadn't been to. And we started talking about Ghost Baby. And it's kind of, sort of like a speakeasy kind of thing. You have to go up to a person and they send you to an elevator and then you go underground. And it's this whole thing. But
that's pretty cool.
You get into this place and go ahead and click on it and look at the pictures. You get down into this tunnel and in the front room there's this really big, cool bar. And then in the back room there's a stage and like it's all just tucked underground in downtown Cincinnati. It is just the coolest experience.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it caught me off guard at how really great that place was, and good cocktails, really great wine selection, good beer, that kind of everything you expect. But
it's a nice little hidden, tucked away type bar. It's like
see, that's that back room with the stage on one end. And
yeah,
it's just so neat.
I like that bar setup too.
Yeah, you feel like you're traveling back in time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. No tucked away bar. We have that one bar too in OTR, right? It's like the video game store.
Oh
bar. Yeah, where it's like you have to go through the hidden door or whatever.
It's right now it's Tiki Bang Bang, I think is what they're called. It's a tiki bar.
Okay. Nice.
The video archive is what it was called when it opened.
When I worked downtown, we were right off of Vines. We were right on Vine Street, actually. So we were right around the corner from Scene and what's the one next to Scene? Oh, there was one that was there that was the Bourbon Bar, and then they put one on the corner. It was across from that CVS right there on Vine, across from Arnoff Center.
It's
like a skinny bar.
Yeah.
Can't think of the name of that one either right now, but Scene, that one, and yeah, it was funny because the Bourbon, they were all like half off happy hours. Like they did the best happy hours downtown because between like 4 to 8, everything was half price no matter what it was. So they pack it.
If I had a staff of people that were able to keep things updated for me, happy hours is another one of those things. Like happy hour specials, like there should be a section on a website where you just click on it and know that this is accurate. And here's all the happy hours in the city. And you're going to be over in Hyde Park. Click on this, and here's all the happy hours in Hyde Park. Like that's a thing that should exist. And like I want to create that for people. I can't do it though.
We're all capped by that 24-hour limit in a day.
It is rough. But if I have my way, I promise at one point it will happen on here.
Yeah, if there was a way for us to like freeze time, I guess we could get more stuff done. But yeah, no one's figured that out yet. But
when my kids get old enough, I'm going to make them work for me. I'm going to make them write things and take pictures of stuff.
So you have them for errands, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
I need you to make Daddy a list of all the happy hours.
No, but the website is nice. It's very good, very informative. And then the last thing I was going to show in here as well is that you have like the podcast. So the podcast, you can get that like on Apple, Google, Android. Subscribe to it in the description.
Should be everywhere. Wherever you listen to podcasts, it should be.
Yeah, there. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get. Yeah. So in the description, I have the link to the iTunes one. But if you listen on Spotify, you can get it there. Google, Apple, probably Amazon as well. So, but pretty cool stuff. And you get a lot of great guests on there as well on the podcast, which talk from brewers to other people all around the industry, sometimes just other drinkers, other things happening.
We always say it's the owners, the brewers, and the drinkers of Cincinnati craft beer. And,
yeah.
it's mean, what makes craft beer? It's not just the people that own a brewery. Sometimes, definitely, not, sometimes those people have very little to do with actual craft beer than somebody else. But sometimes it's them. Sometimes it's people that are making it. Sometimes it is just your drinking buddies sitting around and having a beer and just talking about what's relevant at that moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We do venture out of Cincinnati every once in a while. Not very often, but sometimes.
Drangela says drinking stacked high gravity malt liquor is nasty, but you get a yellow buzz. Cheers, everyone. There you go. Shout out to Malt, my buddy Malt. He's actually up there. I grew up in New Jersey, actually, but he's over on the PA side, I believe, just across the river. He does great whiskey stuff. So if you're looking for a whiskey on YouTube, he's a great guy to check out as well. So great having you. And then my buddy Vanessa, she was up in Connecticut. That's where I was talking about. They're supposed to get like 10 inches up there last weekend for their snowstorm, but she had a blonde hooker ale earlier and stuff. So, but so many just different good beers out there. Like for you, like what's your favorite styles of beer you like to enjoy? Do you have some favorite styles?
I do, but I mean, it really depends on situation and who I'm with and what season it is and things like that. Right now, I've been drinking a whole bunch of lagers. We've got some really great lagers around town. I love kind of that wintertime lager season where you get those Schwarzbiers and you know, kind of the tail end of Oktoberfest and then heading into Bockfest season. That's my favorite time of year for drinking beer.
We have so many Bock beers around here.
I think I still have some Bock in my fridge right now. I think I have a couple more left to. I every year for Oktoberfest, I do a big Oktoberfest beer rundown where I drink every Oktoberfest beer that's released in packaging in Cincinnati, which is a lot of beer. Some of those I can get in singles. Most of them I'm buying 6-packs. So I have a lot of Oktoberfest for a long time. This year I started toying around with the idea of doing it with Bock beer also. So I didn't write anything about it and I didn't make a video or anything like that. But I bought a lot of Bock beer just to see if I was able to put something together. And I can, but it's a lot of Bock beer, so I still have some.
So with hopefully this year we'll get Oktoberfest back.
Oh yeah, it'll be back.
You know, I mean, it's like I tell people, we got the biggest one outside Munich usually. So hopefully it hits.
It almost brought a tear to my eye to watch not just Oktoberfest. I'll put Bockfest as the big one for me. You know, I was really hoping that we would find a way to get Bockfest this spring, which not that we should have, but you know, I was hoping that something would be able to happen, and it was canceled and turned into an online only event the same way that Oktoberfest was. But then, you know, that Saturday of Bockfest, to see a small group of people show up downtown and have their own parade, walking down the sidewalk, like that's what it's about. Like, you know, when you saw, you know, people for Oktoberfest hanging out in their backyard, sitting with their, you know, their husbands and their wives and, you know, drinking some big giant steins of Oktoberfest beer by themselves and munching on some pretzels and watching the live stream, like that is the perfect expression of what a festival like that is supposed to be about. I mean, it's about hanging out with a bunch of people and, you know, reveling and drinking beer, but you know, the real secret behind it is finding a way to connect with people even when you really can't connect with people. It's the secret.
Well, I believe they had some. I thought they had some of the Bockfest. So they had social distance at a couple places.
Yeah, some of the
not
bars,
the same as we're used to, but
some of the bars had stuff, but there was no official kind of Bockfest.
Yeah,
you know, they were a Bockfest hall with you know, drunken revelry.
Here's the thing, right? So last weekend, I'm sure you're aware because you probably covered it on yours as well. How do we have a seltzer fest without having a beer fest?
I will tell you how. So I went to Seltzer Fest, and my video from Seltzer Fest will hopefully Friday this week. In theory, again, don't quote me on dates, guys. I have kids. Hopefully soon. I started getting it edited. There was no local seltzer. You walked in and it was every flavor of White Claw that you could think of, every flavor of Truly that you could think of, all of the core seltzer, and that was it. Like it
Not even
was
Braxton
just
or anything, or
no Braxton, no Astra from March 1st, nothing local, and so it was not a Cincinnati Seltzer Festival. It was a strange event sponsored by Big Seltzer. Is that a thing?
yeah. Well, you know what? So many people are doing it now. I guess it is probably a thing with Big Seltzer. Yeah.
That being said, the people that were there were having a blast. People were not as drunk at this as they are at some of the beer festivals I've been to. I mean, you're talking about everything about 5% ABV. There's no big giant, imperial stouts and things like that. So people were not consuming very much alcohol. Your ticket included 8 samples, and unlike a lot of beer festivals I went to, they marked every time you got a. It wasn't tickets; it was this little hole punch that they did. So
yeah,
they were very good about punching things. So we've all been to those beer festivals.
Are you saying we don't take tickets at Cincinnati Beer Fest?
People don't take tickets.
I volunteered there a few times. I'm just saying.
So like, people were only having 8 samples of 5% ABV seltzer, and then it came with 2 like full cans too, which so people weren't drunk. So it was tame. People were calm. People kept their masks on for the most part. When they were sitting there sipping on their seltzer, they obviously took them off. But it was put on well, and I think everybody that I saw there, I don't think anybody noticed that there wasn't local seltzer. So
yeah, I think they were just happy to even get out and do something, probably.
Yeah.
So, but I can't imagine them getting too obliterated there. I mean, you have to be pretty. I say pretty light in that you don't drink that much, or it takes it doesn't take much to really do anything. But yeah, most people will be fine.
But we'll get there. There will be beer festivals again soon.
I think D'Angelo's kind of second guessing himself there, but you get a short buzz for a few minutes. But you couldn't have been going for the taste there, my friend. You couldn't have been going for the taste there. But what about like beer styles? Any beer styles you're not a big fan of, or anything like that?
I hesitate to say it because I prove myself wrong every time I try to say that I don't like something as much. Historically, for me, Belgian styles, not sour Belgians like lambics and things like that, but just super estery, spicy kind of Belgians are not my favorite. Okay. However, that being said, every one that I've had in the last couple years I've really enjoyed, so I don't even think that that's true.
Okay.
so basically, no. I will drink anything and I will enjoy anything.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously these guys are like, I'm not a huge shandy person by any means. Every time I try it, it's just doesn't work out for me as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I consider that a beer style though. It's like
BJCP has it, right? So they kind of it's kind of recognizes like I couldn't be a judge for that category. I'd be bad at that category.
The whole concept of having like contests where you're judging beers based on style, and in those style guidelines, it says, okay, if you're looking for an imperial stout, a great example is North Coast Old Rasputin.
Yeah.
Well, Old Rasputin should win the gold medal every single year that you have that festival, though, because it is the perfect example of an imperial stout. You just told me that that's what you're looking for. So the entire idea of judging based on style is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have an idea of kind of where things are going, but if something jumps out to you and you really enjoy it, it's good, and that just drink that and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Contests are strange to me.
But that brings a point too there. Actually, you mentioned that. So, I've always debated like when people try to put ratings on beers and they review and stuff. What do you think about when, like ratings? I mean, 'cause I always tell people you got to take them with a grain of salt because you don't really know how that person's really rating something. And sometimes I think people put too much into a rating.
I think that there is definitely a value in a person's rating of a beer, with the understanding that rating is not just the beer. It's who they were with and the environment that they were in, how they were feeling that day, what they had to eat with it, or what they had to eat earlier in the day. All of that factors into that rating. With that being said, it means that rating doesn't mean anything to you. It just means something to them.
Right,
So
right.
for that reason, yes, it, probably in my head, or maybe even like to some extent written down in notes, I probably have some kind of ratings written somewhere. I don't typically put ratings out there into the world because it doesn't have any value to anybody. If you ask me how I enjoyed a beer, I can tell you kind of a roundabout if I enjoyed it or if I didn't enjoy it and why. But I'm not going to give you a how many bottle caps it was.
Yeah. Well, that's like when I do stuff on my Untapped, I'll put a rating. But I tell people, like, that's really my personal type thing, how I felt about it when I look back on something. I said, you know, I look at things, and I could do every beer doing a BJCP type thing, and I can go by clarity, and I can go by looking at the head, and I can go by doing all this stuff. But I want to be in that beer moment most of the time. And so when I did an overall rating, that overall rating is just how that beer, what it meant to me, how it felt to me, how it fits on my scale. Like if I do something and I say like, a 5 being excellent and a 4 being very good and a 3 being good, down to a fair and a poor, then those are things that matter. So if I give a beer like a 3.25, doesn't mean it's a bad beer. It's still under my good level. It's just not one that really pops out as much. And for me, like I tell people, I've rated probably an Untapped myself over a couple thousand beers now. I've got less than 10 that are 5s. So I just don't give a 5 that much. It's got to be really something stellar.
What's crazy for me is that I can sit in a tap room, sit across a bar when we're allowed to do that with a bartender, and they can pour a wet hop IPA. And it's this beer that was made locally, and we can sit there and we can talk about it. I'm like, yeah, it's a good beer. It's like a 3.5, 4-star beer. Okay, if I was giving it a rating. Then I can show up, 2 days later to the hop field where those hops were grown. I can walk out into the middle of the hop field, open up a cooler with the person that made the beer and the guy that grew the hops, and we can sit around and we can share a bottle of that same beer, and it's a 5-star beer. The exact same thing, but you put me in that situation with those people, the beer tastes better. That's not fair. Like that's not fair to the 3.5, 4-star rating, and it's not fair to the 5-star rating. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that day I enjoyed it this much, and this day I enjoy it this much.
Yeah, I think more of the emphasis or focus is more around the describing of the beer and what you pull out of the beer. I think that makes more important than what that person gave it. Because I've had beers that I thought were great beers that other people may have rated low. I'm like, well. It's funny because I look at some stuff and I'm like, well, this style is supposed to have the characteristics you don't like. So
I won't call them out, but there's a very, very small brewery kind of in the region, we'll say. Yeah. And the first time I went out there, they only sold their beer in bottles at the time, and they had 3 beers. People who know Cincinnati are gonna probably figure this out if you start digging deep enough. They had 3 beers. I got them home and tried all 3 of them, and the first 2 were good. They were okay, And then the last one, I popped it open. As soon as I popped it, it starts foaming out the thing, and I'm like, something's wrong here. Pour it in a glass, and it is sour, and it is just completely. It's supposed to be like a blonde ale or something, and it was super tart. Definitely, there was something going on with it, and it was freaking delicious.
Yeah.
if I rated that beer based on what it was supposed to be, it's very low. If I rated it on how much I enjoyed that beer, guess what? I really, really liked it. Yeah. So like where does something like that sit? It's not fair either way. So it just, you get into these weird kind of gray areas with stuff. If you want to know what I thought about a beer, I can definitely tell you what I thought about it and why I thought that. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that that's the same way that anybody else is ever going to feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder sometimes when you go to the different stores, you'll see some of these places now will put up, well, this beer is a 97 on rate beer or whatever. And I was like, you're affecting people's opinion. Like, just don't get too caught up in that. If you're a fan of that style or you want to try it grabs your attention, try it anyway.
That's something that the wine world did for years of, getting people to buy certain things just based on some kind of rating. And it's fairly new in the world of beer, fairly new as far as how old beer is, but just try it, man. Just try everything. It's especially if you're talking about sitting in a tap room or something where you can get a little taster of something. It's not going to kill you to try it, and maybe what all your friends told you was wrong for how you experience it.
Yeah. Well, I tell
okay.
people too, like, your palates are going to shift. You lose
Sure.
taste buds as you get older. Things change over time. So it's going to, I have friends that hated barley wines the first time they had them. And then a couple years later, they love barley wine. So
Yeah.
things shift over that time frame. So you got to, keep that mindset ever evolving as well.
Yeah.
Needless to say, what is your guys' favorite beer or favorite Four Loko? Yeah, I'm like, I've actually done a couple Four Loko things trying to do it, man. I can't mess with that stuff anymore.
Shout out to another local podcast, the guys over at Shift Beers.
Yeah.
They did a gas station singles episode where they just went to the gas station and all grabbed, some of the big, 22-ounce singles of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody brought the hemp flavored Four Loko to that episode. I haven't tried it, but I will say that is my favorite because their reaction was that it was probably pretty horrible.
Yeah. I did a couple Four Locos about a month, 2 months ago, and I forgot which one it was. It was like one was I would say a raspberry something was another one, and one of them was just so bad I'd have to look back to see it. It was just like I can't even finish this thing. The other one was better. It was better. I think slightly better. I could finish the can if I wanted to. They were like the big can. I think I got like 3/4 through it before I just dumped the rest out. But yeah, those things are like, when you're 18 and you're like just trying to get a quick drink or whatever, or 19 or whatever, before you're actually legal and can find good stuff, or if you're cheap or whatever, I guess you can get that kind of stuff. If it works for you, it works for you. But it's just like, yeah, I grew up at a time back drinking coming out of the 80s where we went through the 40s, and we went through the Wild Irish Roses, and we went through the Mad Dog 2020. So I can't say anything about anybody, trying that kind of stuff. It's just, I matured, or my body matured and said, don't even try to bring that back in here anymore. We sold those parts that process that kind of stuff.
if you like something, you like something. Don't let anybody tell you what to drink or what not to drink,
Yeah.
But no, not for me.
Not for me. It's a hard pass, right? So, well, I know you got to do your other thing, but before we run out, because it wouldn't be justice unless we happen to talk about some of the Cincinnati breweries here.
Sure.
It's gonna be a little hard to put you on the spot if you can. Like right now, who would you probably have as your top 5?
So today, and again, much like beer, it
yeah.
changes so much. I am in full-on beer garden mode. I like sitting outside. I like having a beer in the sunshine, those days where we have some. Fibonacci over in Mount Healthy, I have to give them a shout out for their beer garden. I don't want to spoil too much. I have some content coming out about beer gardens very soon here, hopefully, if I can get it done. But they have an incredible beer garden. They still, I believe, have their fire pits out. I think they're getting put away until the fall very soon, though. But they have a bunch of fire pits for like $5 or something. They'll just keep bringing you firewood all night, and you can just keep feeding the thing and sitting around it with your friends and having some beers. And they have goats, and the goats are hanging out outside. It's an incredible place. On that same kind of level, 50 West, the things that they have done with that burger bar and their beer garden and the volleyball courts and all that stuff, just absolutely killing it. Rheingeist Rooftop, if you want to sit outside and have a beer in your downtown, is just phenomenal. So yeah, any place you can sit outside and have a beer right now is going to be one of my favorite breweries. But it changes all the time. If I'm going out with my kids and my wife, like what is my favorite place that night is very different than if it's my one night that I'm getting away from my kids and my wife. I may not want to go to a place that has kids running around. I may want to go to a place that's a little, it changes so much.
Yeah, no, that's some good ones. Was that 3 of them that you had there?
I gave you 3.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's tough. It's tough to get through them all, But I was going to ask you. I haven't been over to the Braxton rooftop, but I heard that one was nice.
Their rooftop is fantastic too.
Yeah.
The view is not as good as Rheingeist though.
Yeah.
Rheingeist has just that killer view through OTR and into downtown, but Braxton's is pretty good.
Yeah. Now, some good stuff around Cincinnati, and definitely some nice breweries. I tell people if you're ever in this area, you just got to stop. You just if you're driving, just leave trunk space because you're loading up if you're here.
Yeah, well, and there's some places around that, old school kind of craft beer tap rooms. You used to walk in, and it was somebody that made the beer behind the bar, or one of the owners behind the bar, and that's kind of gone away in Cincinnati. A lot of places have grown up, but there are still those places like that, like Fibonacci, where you can walk in, and sometimes it's one of the owners or somebody behind the bar, or Paradise over in Anderson. You walk in. It's a very small group of people that run that place. You're probably going to have one of the owners there. It's places like that kind of give you kind of that tie back to kind of what made you fall in love with craft beer in the first place, and just that passion for it. And I'm not thinking that places aren't passionate, but it's you really can't go wrong. It's on the flip side, you can walk into a place like Mad Tree that's this massive machine of a brewery, and it is a beautiful thing.
It is, and Mad Tree is one of the ones that are one of my top ones, just because anybody there can find a beer they usually like, but it does become crazy. So a couple years ago, a couple years, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember now because of Corona throwing it off. Yeah. But I had a few of my buddies come into town, so we all got together at Braxton Labs, where we met at. So we started out there. And then we went from Braxton Labs over to Street Side. We called it a Lift. Lift took us to Street Side, which was awesome at Street Side. Yeah. Great little brewery. Gets a little crowded because it's a smaller type spot, but it's a great brewery there. And then they also went to Mad Tree. I had to come back to do some stuff, but they left there to go to we went to Darkness after we went to Braxton Labs, which is also a great one. Which they really enjoyed the Darkness stuff. But they went to Mad Tree, and Mad Tree was just so crazy with all the people. Yeah. They really, they were kind of going from being able to chill at Braxton to being able to chill at Darkness to be able to chill at Street Side to what the hell is going on? Everybody's running everywhere at Mad Tree. So I think that gets to the time and the mindset when you're actually enjoying a beer, right? So they went there for a bit. I think they left there and went to another one as well, but so many good breweries, so many different things that are happening between the different breweries. They're all different. They all got kind of their own little thing going, except all the breweries seem to have a big thing around board games. That's a big thing I find a lot of. You want to play Sorry or Monopoly or, whatever type of board game. All of them have, which I think part of it is in case they bring families, but the other part is I think some of the people like to actually drink and have nostalgia of playing board games.
Well, it gives you something to do when you're sitting around just having a couple beers. If it keeps the conversation going. It just gives you something kind of to tie it all together. I think.
To really have a good time. But
I always keep a deck of cards in my car for those days where you're hanging out with your friends. You're like, what are we gonna sit here and do? And you play cards. It's kind of the same idea.
Are you a big euchre fan too?
I wish that I knew how to play euchre.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to play it.
I learned to play one at one time back when I was doing the softball days here. We were at a softball tournament over in Milford, and in between games, started playing euchre. I was like, I don't want to play euchre. No, my teammates told me to play euchre. I was like, you can kick your partner out of the game, like your partner. I'm like, how well this will work with spades when people have bad spades partners when they kick their partner. So, but I haven't played in a while. I forgot how to play it now. But here in Cincinnati, euchre is big, and of course, cornhole is big. Those are two big things to play if you're at a barbecue or a picnic or something. But it was great having you on. Great talk. Have to have you back and get some updates and all that kind of stuff and things like that are taking place. But you guys make sure to check out Andrew's site here. And on YouTube, it is just Gnarly Gnome. There is no the.
Yeah, I didn't plan that far ahead when I was setting up a YouTube account. I don't even know when I set the actual YouTube account up. It was a long time ago, but didn't think ahead.
But on the website, it has all the links. And then in the description, like I said, I have the links and stuff there too. But no, it's definitely been great having you on and talking about all the different things for sure. So, anytime, welcome back. And
I appreciate it.
We talk on Twitter and all that kind of stuff too. So thanks for jumping on tonight. Anything you want to close out with? Anything upcoming? Any big blockbuster things?
No, just keep watching on social media. If there's big stuff happening, that's where you're going to see it first. And please follow me on YouTube. It's been fun building a YouTube channel after not having a YouTube channel for years. It's kind of brings you back to those beginnings of building something. It's fun, but I'm really enjoying making some videos and hope to really dive into that just head first in the next year or so. So some fun stuff coming there. when the world goes back to normal, we need to go grab an actual beer in an actual place together.
Yeah, well, 2 weeks from Friday, I'm 100%, and I am out and about and all over the place. So
I will be a little while before I'm actually vaccinated. So I had COVID in March. And it was miserable. So I'm
glad to see you guys. I remember you mentioning that there.
Yeah,
actually,
it was bad.
Twitter, yeah.
I'm immune right now though because of that. But it also means when I get my vaccine, it's probably going to be miserable. And after the misery of actually having it, I'm not looking forward to that part right now. So I'm pushing it off as kind of towards that 90-day mark where they kind of recommend it to.
Well, by the end of the year or something, I'm sure we'll get together and everybody's immune. I mean, everybody's available to get the thing as of today, they said. So they passed the thing for 16 and up. So we'll see what happens. But it was great having you, brother, and definitely I'm going to catch up some more with you in a beer. That being said, everybody, we'll look forward to talking to you guys soon. Keep drinking those good craft beers. Remember, there's always time. Get your beer on. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.